The Spain of the 15th century was a fragmented land, where different kingdoms coexisted with distinct cultures and interests. Castile, Aragon, Navarre, and the Muslim Kingdom of Granada divided the Iberian Peninsula, each with its own politics and ambitions. However, one marriage forever changed the destiny of this land. The union of Isabella of Castile and Ferdinand of Aragon in 1469 not only consolidated their crowns but also laid the foundation for a strong and centralized state. The alliance between the Catholic monarchs marked the beginning of a new era, where the monarchy exerted tighter control over its domains, promoting linguistic, administrative, and military unification. The new dynasty, determined to strengthen its power, eliminated any internal and external threats to its authority. They reformed the army, created efficient bureaucratic institutions, and strengthened the Spanish Inquisition, a brutal tool to ensure religious and political unity. This centralization of power allowed Spain to look beyond its borders, expanding its influence over the Mediterranean and the Atlantic. Thus, the foundations of the future empire were laid, but the definitive conquest of the peninsula would only come with a crucial event in 1492. 1492 was a year that would forever change the history of Spain and the world. After centuries of conflict, the Reconquista came to an end with the victory over the last Islamic stronghold in the Iberian Peninsula, Granada. The city's capitulation marked the final triumph of the Catholic monarchy and consolidated Christian rule over the entire region. Not satisfied with just expelling the Moors, the Catholic monarchs also decreed the expulsion of the Jews, depriving Spain of a prosperous economic population but reaffirming the kingdom's religious identity. In the same year, a Genoese navigator named Christopher Columbus, financed by the Spanish monarchs, crossed the ocean and reached what would become the New World. The expedition opened the doors to an era of colonization and exploration that would make Spain the richest and most powerful nation in Europe. The first settlements in the Americas were quickly established, and the desire for gold and land drove new expeditions. In less than a century, Spain would become the largest colonial power on the planet, ushering in the era of the empire where the sun never set. With the Iberian Peninsula under control, the Spanish monarchs turned their eyes beyond the Mediterranean. Expansion into North Africa began with the conquest of Melilla in 1497, followed by other strategic outposts such as Oran, Tripoli, and Bougie. These possessions secured Spain's vital dominance over trade routes and served as bastions against Berber pirates and the Ottoman threat. However, maintaining these territories required constant resources and military presence, becoming a long-term challenge. While consolidating its position in Africa, Spain also actively engaged in European disputes. Rivalry with France led to successive wars over strategic territories such as Navarre and Milan, strengthening Spain's presence in Italy. At the same time, skillfully negotiated marriage alliances ensured Spanish control over vast European territories, paving the way for the rise of Charles I, heir to an empire that stretched from Central Europe to the Americas. Charles I, known as Charles V in the Holy Roman Empire, inherited one of the most extensive territorial domains in history. The grandson of the Catholic monarchs on his mother's side and Maximilian I of Austria on his father's side, he united under his crown the Spanish kingdoms, possessions in Italy, the Netherlands, and the Austrian inheritance of the Habsburgs. His empire was so vast that it was said the sun never set on it. Governing this immense network of territories required a disciplined army, leading to the creation of the legendary Spanish tercios, infantry troops that would become invincible on the battlefield. Under Charles I's rule, Spain consolidated its dominance in the Americas. Hernán Cortés defeated the Aztec Empire, while Francisco Pizarro subdued the Incas, ensuring an unceasing flow of gold and silver to Europe. These riches financed wars against European rivals and sustained the luxury of the Spanish court. But they also initiated a dangerous economic dependency. While Spain became the greatest global power, the seeds of its future decline were already being planted. An inflated economy and an empire difficult to manage. After the abdication of Charles I, his son Philip II took the throne and led the Spanish Empire to the height of its glory. Unlike his father, who spent much of his reign traveling through Europe to maintain his vast inheritance, Philip II centralized the government in Spain, ruling from the majestic palace of El Escorial. During his reign, The empire received colossal amounts of gold and silver from the American colonies, financing wars and unprecedented expansion. This wealth allowed Spain to maintain the most powerful army in Europe and continue its crusade against religious and political enemies. Philip II solidified Spanish dominance by defeating the Ottomans at the Battle of Lepanto, 1571, an epic naval confrontation that prevented the Muslim advance in the Mediterranean. However, his reign also faced internal and external challenges. The rebellion of the Calvinists in the Netherlands led to the 80 Years' War, a devastating conflict that weakened the empire. Additionally, in 1588, the famous Spanish Armada was destroyed in a failed attempt to invade England, marking the beginning of the decline of Spanish naval supremacy. Despite these difficulties, Philip II managed to unify the Iberian Peninsula under his rule when he inherited the Portuguese throne in 1580, incorporating a vast overseas empire into Spain. With the death of Philip II, his son Philip III inherited a vast but financially unstable empire. Unlike his father, Philip III was a disengaged monarch, delegating power to favored ministers. His reign was marked by attempts to reduce external conflicts to avoid bankruptcies, but economic decline was already evident. Dependence on gold and silver from the colonies caused uncontrolled inflation, while wars and inefficient administrations drained the empire's resources. To worsen the situation, in 1609, he expelled the Moriscos from Spain, a measure that, despite being religiously motivated, further harmed the economy by depriving the country of skilled labor. Philip IV, successor to Philip III, inherited a weakened empire and plunged Spain into new conflicts. The 30 Years' War, 1618 to 1648, which began as a religious dispute between Catholics and Protestants, drained Spanish coffers and eroded Habsburg dominance in Europe. Additionally, the revolt of Catalonia and Portugal's independence, recognized in 1668, exposed the empire's growing inability to maintain its cohesion. Spain, which had once dominated European battlefields, now saw its military forces and economy exhausted, setting the stage for the crisis that would follow in the late 17th century. The reign of Charles II, the last monarch of the Habsburg dynasty in Spain, was a period of crisis and fragility. Known as the Bewitched due to his severe health problems, Charles II was a weak king, unable to govern firmly an already declining empire. During his rule, corruption spread through the administration, the economy sank further, and Spanish influence in Europe drastically diminished. Internally, the country faced financial difficulties, and the once powerful Spanish fleet could no longer protect its colonies effectively. When Charles II died in 1700 without heirs, the War of Spanish Succession, 1701 to 1714, erupted, a conflict among European powers to determine who would take the Spanish throne. France supported Philip of Anjou, grandson of Louis XIV, while Austria and other European powers feared Spain falling under French control. The war spread across Europe and Spanish colonies, devastating the empire's economy. In the end, Philip V of the Bourbon dynasty was recognized as king, but Spain lost important European territories, such as the Spanish Netherlands, Milan, Naples, and Sardinia. The fall of the Spanish Empire left a lasting legacy in world history. Spain, once ruling an empire where the sun never set, became a secondary power, unable to keep pace with the industrial and political rise of emerging nations. However, Spanish cultural and linguistic influence endured, shaping the Americas and parts of Asia. If Spain had managed its wealth better, modernized its economy earlier, or avoided certain conflicts, could its empire have survived? These questions continue to intrigue historians today, as the marks of the old empire still resonate in the contemporary world. If you enjoyed this incredible journey through the rise and fall of the Spanish Empire, leave a like to support our work and help us bring more epic content like this. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new stories about the greatest empires, legendary battles, and figures who changed the world. Share this video with your friends and comment below. Do you think the Spanish Empire could have lasted longer? Let's debate in the comments.